Let me show you some of the features of the Andy rig. First, you want to set your project to the project directory you downloaded with the Andy rig. In this case, Andy rig version 1.4.6. Next step is to open up the Andy rig Maya ASCII file. And there we go. We see a character. If we turn on shading, we get a nice grey character, and if we turn on textures, you see that she's fully textured. The rig comes with a display layer that contains the mesh, which is by default set to reference. You can turn that off and look at the rig that is inside. Now, if we're going to animate, we do not actually need to see the rig, so we will turn off the visibility of the joints, show joints, turn it off, and we'll just have the controls. And if we turn the display layer back on, the model itself. Having the display layer on reference has the big advantage that you cannot accidentally select the mesh itself. Now, she looks kind of feminine, or he or it. Andy looks kind of feminine, and we'll fix that. If you select the circle at the bottom, the Andy world, you'll see that in the channel box there are a number of extra parameters next to the normal translate, rotate, scale. You also have the hair parameter, for instance, and you can switch this between boy, girl, man, woman, or none. Let's go for the boy look, because we want to work with Andy. The clothing, there's also a couple of different sets of clothing available. Shorts with a pink thingy and a nice skull on the t-shirt. I will go for the stripes look. Now, Andy looks distinctly less feminine, but there's something not quite male about him, and that's his chest. We can switch that between boy and girl. So now that we got the guy to look the way we want him to, we can explore some of the features of this rig. Let's start with the arms. This is a normal IK controller, the box out there, which you can move, and you can see it works as a normal IK. You can also see that as soon as I pull it beyond its normal reach, it will still reach the goal. Stretchy IK by default is turned on in the Andy rig. In the channel box for the wrist control, the IK control, there is an auto stretch parameter, which by default is turned on. If you turn that off by typing 0, you see that it now behaves much like a normal IK without stretching towards the goal. And you'll see I'm hitting Z a lot to return it into its normal pose. There's also a hand controller for everything that's available in the hand, where you can select any finger and make it move, or you can select the whole bunch and make it move all together. The wrist controller, also above the wrist, the two arrows have the settings for the arm. For instance, there's a IK FK switch, and if I turn the FK off, you see the controllers change, and now I have normal forward kinematics controls. I just pose by rotating the joints. And if I turn the if I select controller again and turn the IK back on, it will switch back to the position for the FK controller. You can smoothly blend between the two if you do it nicely. That's the arm. Let's go to the leg and show you some of the features there. Again, there's a controller for the leg, this circle or shape at the bottom, and if I move it up and down, you'll see that it's basically normal IK. Again, stretchy. If you don't want the stretchy, you have to turn auto stretch off. But the great feature is that you have these controls called foot roll, ball roll and toe roll. The foot roll is very important when doing a walk cycle because you can actually make him roll off his feet, and so if you're walking, go down and then roll. Very handy control. The ball roll also gives you control of the front of the foot, and then the toe gives you control, making it go stand on his toes. The leg also has this main controller, FK, IK switch, and there's also the bend. Both the arm and the leg have a bend controller. What the bend does, if I move it up like this, if I then go to the arrow pointing up and down the bend, I can make it bend, kind of funnily. So on top of stretchy, it's also a bending rig. Now there's a whole controls for just about anything. You've got your normal pull vector controls, these where the knee should be pointing, also available for the wrist or the elbow. And you've got your normal character controls. You can make him jump up and down. Of course, you see the one leg is set to stretch, the other one is not, so that is kind of funky. Controls for all the joints or all the parts of the spine, and you can even, if you want to, dislocate his spine, and they can do all kinds of funky stuff. Well, that's the basic things you need to know to set up a walk cycle with Andy here. Of course, it does have all the features you could possibly want, including, and I'm going to the channel box again, facial controls. If I turn the face sliders on, you'll see a whole bunch of slides appear where you can also do facial animation, but that is not needed for doing a walk cycle. So I hope this gave you a grasp on the features, basic features of the Andy rig.